Hello everyone, Rimea here, and welcome to, geez, this must be the ninth part of my Cloudy Super Mario Bros. U 2 playthrough. So in the previous part we started World 7, which I guess you could say is like the main world of the mod, because it's called Cloudy Super Mario Bros. U 2 after all, and this is the Cloud World. And yeah, this, if you're not aware, this is the big new Super Mario Bros. U mod that I've been working on for quite a few years at this point. It finally released about 3 weeks ago. And without further ado, let's get going with 7-Tower, Whirl Warp Tower. So the Whirl Warp in that name, like the whirl part at least, refers to like a whirlwind, because it's like the Peach's Castle tornadoes in the background here. And the warp, of course, refers to the screen wrap that we'll be seeing later on. And yeah, I'm quite a big fan of that level name there. This is probably the second, this is gonna sound weird, but the second earliest cloud in any level, if that makes sense, because this one's like right here at the beginning. There's one in 8-2, I think, which is like just right at the very beginning, so I guess that one's even earlier, but I think that one might be, like I said, the second earliest. And yeah, I'm quite a big fan of this level, honestly. I think it's pretty cool. It uses some, mechanics I haven't seen used in the way that I used them before. As a fun little like throwback to DS and Wii sections, and yeah, just in general, I'm a pretty big fan. The screen wrap in East Measure was mostly unused. It was only used in a coin battle stage, as Jerby reminded me of like a couple years ago. I didn't even know about that, honestly. And so I used that throughout this level to great effect, I'd like to think. This bonus room went through quite a few changes throughout development, but I really like the kind of the way it ended up in the end, where you kind of dodge those growls like that, and you can kill them with the power block and get the star coin. And that of course also kind of introduces the player to the idea that the growls can be killed, which you might not already expect to be a thing, but that'll be coming back later in the level. Oh, well, whatever. I like this section here where the Growl kind of like makes a little jump and then goes back up, and yeah, just the way Growls work in this game is really interesting, because they don't just roll like with gravity or momentum like the urchins, for example, do. They actually just kind of ignore like momentum for the most part. They'll just roll with like a set speed. So you can see like this Growl here just like speeds up this hill like it's nothing, which is kind of useful, I guess, but it also means that sometimes, if you want something to feel more realistic, it's not really going to with Growls. So you really have to be specific in the way you use them. It's a kind of a funny like red coin section where I actually someone bug reported that oh no, the red coin ring in this level doesn't spawn any red coins, it just spawns yellow coins. Of course, it actually does spawn red coins. They just appear in the blocks, and it spawns yellow coins to indicate where those red coins are. And I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I just spawned red coins inside of these note blocks, which essentially means that they're like, you have to like jump on them to collect them. Which actually feels pretty, like, not jank, I would say. Like, it kind of makes sense, because you can also hide items in, like, note blocks anyways, so yeah, I kind of like that. This level also uses these Growl, like, one-way gate things here, because I can't pass through that, but the Growls can. That's kind of an interesting sprite from the original game, and yeah, it definitely works with the screen wrap setting. And of course, we kind of have this, like, I wanted to say Growl escort mission. That doesn't make much sense, but like I don't know. It's like Growl, you can say it's like a Growl stealth mission section here, I don't know. And yeah, quite a big fan of that, and then you hit the switch and you can go up here. The midway doesn't actually bounce on the notebooks, but it does go down if you stand on both of them like this, so that's something at least. And throughout this level, we also, of course, have these big Magic Koopa or Kamek faces in the walls, and also there's, like, if you notice, these, like, little sparkly, like, Kamek, like, shapes that Kamek usually has when, like, magic stuff happens. Those are also in the tiles, so yeah, definitely referring to Kamek with the tile set and stuff, because, of course, Kamek will be the boss for this tower. This is an interesting section here where you have this Growl spawner up here, and like the Growls kind of go down all the way with the player. And in general, having a downward section in a tower is kind of unheard of, I think. I quite like the way I use it here. I mean, it's a little bit of a jank section maybe, but it's fine. Actually, if you go down here and just wait for a while, the Growls will stop spawning, because the Growl spawner at the top of the screen has been unloaded at this point. So if I wait long enough, yeah, there we go. There's no Growls anymore. And of course, you can see the Growls here going behind this gate instead of in front of it, because this is actually layer 0. And I think that's quite a funny little detail. Also, if there had been any Growls left, they would have actually like bounced off the wall here and gone over to the left here. So they wouldn't actually hit the player if the player just stood here. So that's fine. And then here's what I was talking about earlier with a section that kind of refers back to New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. DS. I think it was well, I don't even know. I think it was the World 5 tower in DS. I forget which level it was in Wii. But like, this like upwards auto-scroller with the moving platform and spike balls, or in this case, Growls. Yeah, it's a very classic Nintendo move, and I think it fits well with this level. And yeah, quite a big fan of this section, honestly. Here, like, there's like a safe zone to the left to, you know, just continue normally, but if you want to get these coins and also this pipe, you can go over to the right here and jump over the big roll. And then here's probably the wackiest section in the whole mod, because yeah, it's like a big Rube Goldberg machine of rolls, which like don't quite all hit each other. They're all like kind of just dodging each other and like jumping over different gaps, and this took ages to set up. And by the time I set it up, I wasn't even sure what I wanted the bonus room itself to be. I just like this setup of like the rolls, like, you know, all like kind of, you know, following this pattern and going in a row, and yeah, it's really cool, honestly. But of course, the actual challenge here ended up being to kill the rolls, which is why this bonus music is playing to kind of indicate that. And from what I've seen, everyone has so far has understood that you're supposed to kill the grolls. I don't think I've seen anyone being like extremely confused. So that's nice. Oh no, okay, that can also happen. You can make the growl bounce back. Well, that's gonna take a second. Come back, guy. Yeah, here's what I mentioned earlier about the grolls not really obeying the laws of physics coming into play. Because if they did obey the laws of physics, then that growl would have been like stuck here, would have like, you know, gone down this hill, and then probably wouldn't have been able to go back up the hill again. The fact that they just always have this like infinite momentum is really good in this case. And where we end up here is like, you know, also the way you end up if you just play the level normally. But this is actually a different zone because I had to make sure that this platform didn't move and like the growl's already here and everything. And yeah, so this is actually a duplicate zone, which I think is like the only time I do that in the whole mod, is having like a duplicate zone for like, you know, different setups and stuff. That's something I see a lot of other mods do quite a bit of for more complicated setups, but I try to avoid it for the most part. And here we have the only edited boss arena in the whole mod, I think, which is Kamek, but with no blocks and less blocks, like less like magic blocks. We actually got really unlucky here. We got like the worst setup right away, which is where there's only 2 blocks up there for like basically no reason. But yeah, for the most part, you can still always hit Kamek, or either with the no blocks or by jumping up these blocks. But occasionally you can get unlucky like that and get you know, a bad setup like that. It's actually totally like under the level editor's control to you know, determine where those blocks are going to spawn. I decided to just be a little bit trolly there by having blocks sometimes not always be all that useful. I like this setup here where like you have the no blocks like this, and then you can like kind of jump up here, or like wall jump even. Oh, can I? Oh wow, that was a nice jump. Interesting how the Kamek's fireballs have a glow around them on the like the normal maps of these bricks in the background, but it's actually a blue glow, even though the fireball thing or magic ball itself is actually like pink. I guess that's kind of a weird bug, but I guess it looks fine, I suppose. Alright, now for one of the more interesting levels in the whole mod, I'd say, which is Mansion of Mazes. So if you remember, 5-Ghost House, the other ghost house in this mod, was called Maze of Mansions. And so this level's called Mansion of Mazes, which I just thought was a funny way of doing things. And I'm quite a big fan of both levels, I suppose, even though they do kind of similar ideas in very different ways, I'd like to think. So yeah, you start out in like this like kind of ghost clouds thing, which is actually kind of a reference, I suppose, to the original Cloudy Super Mario Bros. U, which for this level, because I didn't really want to make a ghost house, it was like a outside ghost clouds with like this kind of tile set as well, like the purple clouds and this background as well. And yeah, you could say that's a reference to that. But this level sees the return of the ghost switches, or not ghost switches, the door switches, of course. And I use them in very interesting ways throughout this level. So it's going to be really hard for me to explain what exactly this level is, but basically this first section here is like an infinite loop of very similar sections. So I'm going to actually purposefully, I guess, show you guys all of the different sections as opposed to just like getting the main route right away. But yeah, basically the doors we just went into after spawning that door switch, or like using that door switch to spawn the doors, like which door is actually the right door is completely RNG. So I actually use a randomized event controller to determine that. So there's actually a hidden door up here which leads us onto the main route. However, instead I'm going to just like do what I think a lot of people are going to do, which is like kind of, you know, just follow like the more logical, like non-secret route. And if you notice, this zone here is actually kind of similar to the zone we were in just before this, but now it has like this vertical moving thing, and yeah, some things about it are slightly different, but overall it is still quite a similar zone. And that's kind of the main gist of this level. There's a couple, I guess 2 sections like this, where there's like a loop of different zones which are similar, and if you don't find the hidden door, then you'll just continue in the loop forever. So this is the 3rd zone, and yeah, like I said, it was completely random which zone we'd end up at for the first like section of this level. We ended up in the most likely one, which was the first zone we were in. But it could have just as well been that we started in this zone or the zone before this. So at this point, the level actually tells you, like, oh, like, you know, this door here is actually fake, and the way to go is actually over here into this secret door. However, we're still going to end up back in this zone again, like we were at the beginning. And now we know, if you hadn't already figured it out, that if I go back up here, then the way to go is in the same spot again, right here. And there's a secret door in each of the zones to allow you to continue. And depending on which zone you end up finding the secret door in, you'll end up outside of a different door in this section here. And now we're onto like the main second half of the first half of this level, I guess. So it is a fun little setup where like you can kind of go over to the right here, but it's only like a one-way section really. It's hard to go back left. That's why there's this layer 0 section up here, because there's this outline of coins over to the left there, which is kind of a reference to Super Mario World, I guess, which also did something similar for secret doors. And if we go over here and see if we hit this switch that's up above here, which is actually mandatory, then we can go back to the left for the layer 0. And then we can go into that door to get the first star coin. However, I'm also going to show what happens if you don't find that switch there, which I think is going to be the case for most people running through this zone for the first time. You can continue like this. You can actually even go back like this. You can just backtrack like that. I want to make sure that the player always has the option to backtrack if they want to. But yeah, if you go through this door, you end up back in one of those fake zones, or like the looping zones, and you can just go back. Which I guess might actually be a faster way of getting to this door than actually backtracking, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, let's go to this door for the first star coin, like I said. It's just a standard little thing with the big boo, you know, hiding the star coin. Like that. And there we go. Oh, let's not die. Yeah, there we go. And then the actual main route for this level is by going into this door right here. And this ghost house, just like the first ghost house in the mod, actually still has a midway, because I'm not cruel like Nintendo, and this ghost house is confusing enough as it is. I wanted to make sure that the player still like has a kind of a reset like that, if they want it. This is another interesting zone here. You're kind of outside again, and yeah, this is door switch here, which does apparently nothing. Like nothing will have probably changed for what the player can see in this zone. There's still a door to the right here, and there would have been a door to the right here regardless of whether you hit the switch or not. But actually, what zone this door leads to changed depending on whether you hit that switch or not. So we end up in this zone now because we hit the switch. However, had we not hit the switch, then we would have ended up in the other zone that's adjacent to this one. So this is once again the same concept as the first 3 zones of this level, where if I go to this door, which I guess is the more obvious door, then you end up in a duplicate of the same zone, but with a slightly different setup. And once again, the same concept here. If you go over here, the more obvious door leads back to the loop. But however, here the slightly more hard to get door, which is over here, leads to the main route. And there's also this funny troll here, where in both sections here, there's this like kind of obvious layer 0 to the right of this door here, like down below. And I've seen a lot of people try and do something like this to get in there, which you can do, so you can get the sonic one like that. However, you can also just go in here like this. There's not a semi-solid here blocking your way to just go down and get the star coin. That's kind of funny. And of course, had you hit the switch, which I did, I guess, then you would have ended up in the zone like from the start, which meant that you would have a higher chance of getting the star coin. And had you not hit the switch, then you would have had a lower chance of hitting the star coin, because you would have likely just gone through one of the right doors instead and skipped past the star coin. So yeah. Then we have another downwards vertical section, which I guess is one of my favorites because I do it a lot throughout the mod. And there's a switch here in this block, which is another one of those switches where you're not really sure what it does. It's also kind of hard to get, I guess, because you have to like kind of do something like this maybe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's not obvious what that switch does. Originally, that switch was actually in the like the brick block formation over to the left here. Like it was just like inside of like this brick block here, I think. And that was of course a little bit just random, and I didn't really like. I didn't want to rely on the player just hitting all the brick blocks for no reason. So yeah, I decided to move it over to the right there, make it a little bit more obvious. It's a section I've seen some people struggle with, but I think it's quite fun, I guess, where you can do like a wall jump like this. Some people try and go over the top the whole way, like through the top section, and that's a little bit harder. So here there's these two doors, and depending on whether you hit the switch or not, it actually switched whether this door is a secret door or the other door is a secret door. So now this is the real door, but had you not hit the switch, then this would have been the fake door, and the other one would have been the real door, and you wouldn't have been able to get the third star coin. Now, because I hit the switch, I end up in this zone, and if in this zone you go up, let's see, if in this zone you end up going up here, like this, because this is obviously a 0, then you'll get the secret exit, and you also still get the third star coin. However, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to replay the whole level. Instead, if I go like this, you still get the third star coin, however you don't get the secret exit. So like this, you end up in a door here instead of just ending up at the secret exit, and then you go back to the main end of the level. And there we go, that's possibly the most complicated level in the mod in terms of event setups and like zone duplication and stuff, and it's a whole mess. But I'm a pretty big fan of the way it turned out, honestly. I think it's pretty neat. Okay, so before we move on to the next level, we're actually going to do one of these fuzzy ambushes. And as you might notice, there's these rainbow things on the world map here, which are very much similar to the ones that you move on back, for the secret exit of the first world. And therefore, in this fuzzy ambush, we also have the return of these rolling rainbow hills right here. And not only that, we also have rolling fuzzies, which are not a thing in the original game. They're actually remodeled urchins, again. I say again because there's also remodeled urchins in other sections of this mod, which actually we'll see later on, I suppose. But yeah, these are, much like the urchins in that one bonus room in the beach level, or the beach desert level, the one with the urchins and the water geysers. Much like that section, these fuzzies are rolling urchins, actually, and they're remodeled, and they were replaced by Flizzle, and they look nice. And that was that section already done, just a tiny little auto-scroller thing. I think it's quite a fun little thing. And actually, to get all those, like, urchins slash fuzzies rolling into place like that, there's, like, invisible platforms which are, like, tilted and move out of the way off screen throughout this whole section here to make that happen. You can just go into this pipe like this, and then you get a treasure chest. There we go. Yeah, just a different approach to an ambush. And I'm quite a big fan of the way those turned out. And there's actually, I think, like 3 different variations of that with similar sort of setups for the way the urchins move, but different setups for how like the tiling is done and stuff. I don't want to do this level yet, actually. I want to go back. Hold on. Kind of a shame that this this flying question mark here isn't sunset colored. It's just a normal question mark, but that's like a tiny little detail. I don't think anyone's going to care about that. Anyways, on to 7-4 Nautical Nimbus. So nautical means like, water related or whatever. Nimbus means clouds, so water cloud, which is of course kind of the mechanic for this level. Because of these amps, which are, a thing, they fit with the kind of thundercloud aesthetic for this level. Because, yeah, this level and also the last normal level of this world, 7-6, both have this, like, kind of thundercloud, rainy, I guess you could say, aesthetic, even though there was no rain. I was originally going to have animated tiles for the rain, however, in the end, it was decided that that looked a little bit too bad, it just didn't look great. So I decided I'd rather have a level just that looked a little bit nicer, even if it made a little bit less sense to not have rain in a level which is clearly meant to have rain, whatever. So instead, it's just like thundercloud stuff without any rain. Oh well. But yeah, for the main part of this level, we're just using these water bubbles, which were also used in the original World 7 of Rimea 2. But I'd like to think that I used them in enough different ways to where I can justify using the same mechanic Nintendo did. First of all, combining it with the amps, I think is a very logical thing, even though it doesn't really make any sense, like, physically, because of course if there were electricity in water like that, it would, like, electrocute the whole water bubble, presumably. However, I mean, we're talking about floating water bubbles here, like, there are no physics in the Mushroom Kingdom, nobody cares. There's actually a redcorn ring here, which is, like, possibly the hardest redcorn ring in the whole mod. Like, I can get it like this, and oh, first of all, I got electrocuted, that's nice. But yeah, the hitbox of these redcoins is terrible, like I've already said before, I believe. And, oh yeah, let's just get electrocuted again, that's nice. But also the way they move with the... Oh, damn, I almost got it. The way they move with the water bubbles just makes it extra difficult. And, yeah, that was actually done by hooking up both these water bubbles and those red coins to a path controller. Which is why they synchronized like that so nicely. It's a fun thing you can do because, like I said, you can sync up water bubbles with a path controller. I actually have this path control set up here to make these bubbles move into place like this temporarily, and then they go back. Also, shoutouts to Breakblock for this great original composition here, which is used in both these Thundercloud levels and also in a couple levels in, I guess, like World 8 and World 9 as well. It's kind of just meant to be like the theme used for levels which are meant to be like generally like distressing or whatever, but not actually like lava themed or whatever. There's a fun little section here where we're once again using path control bubbles, and also there's this one little bubble like poking out like that. It can go up like this. It's a bonus room I added later into the development because originally the start room was just up there where that bubble was. Now there's this bonus room with this ice bro that freezes amps like this. In general, using ice bros in this level like kind of made sense to me, even though it doesn't really like make sense thematically. I'd say it's just like, I don't know. I gotta use ice bros somewhere in this world because I don't have ice levels themselves. So yeah, I feel like if there was gonna be any level that was gonna use ice bros, I felt like this one would be the one, and it works well with the amps, of course. So there you go. I'm not a huge fan of the way like this whole room here feels though, like the way it's like kind of like it almost feels like an underground room, you know, with the background tiling and the ceiling and stuff. I don't know, not a huge fan of that, but I'm a pretty big fan of this last section of this level, where we start having a bubble autoscroller. This section kind of starts out with like no real justification for why it's an autoscroller. It's just like a random autoscroller, but pretty soon it should be evident why this section is autoscrolling. I suppose a bunch of 10 coins here actually to just make sure the player kind of has something to do to wait for the autoscroller to continue like this. And then we could jump down this bubble like this, and yeah, here we go. Moving bubble autoscroller. It's kind of cool. This dark one here used to be way harder, where there used to be an amp actually like where Mario is right now, so you'd have to like kind of loop around and do like a weird wall jump to get out of there and stuff, and it was just really difficult. So I got rid of that amp, and now it's probably a little bit too easy, but I guess it's better than being too difficult. And yeah, this is just like the natural like evolution of mechanics of this level, I think. You know, having the player dodge through amps like this with a moving water bubble that moves nicely with the camera and stuff. It's pretty neat. And there we go. But yeah, I think it's a pretty decent level. I don't mind it, I suppose. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for this part of the playthrough. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you tune in next time for the end of World 7. And yeah, see you there. Bye bye.